Good evening, and welcome to the Immersive Experience, a podcast about you, for you, from you. And tonight we talk about Left Behind. Tonight is the
Hey,
title is Left Behind. We
hold on.
talk about the personal evolution and how we evolve, and the people that we have around us do not. So we're just gonna delve into that a little bit. So, you guys, I just want to ask you all to introduce yourselves, get them your hashtags, and I'm gonna start with China. Then China, you could pick who's gonna go next.
And she froze again.
Then she froze
Yeah,
again.
she
Oh, she
froze.
froze. Okay, it's not just me. Okay. China. All right. Well, you know what, Miss Visa, you could just you could just go ahead and introduce yourself because this is your first time here. I appreciate you so much for coming on and talking to us. I had the pleasure of hearing you speak one time on Overstanding Darkness with Mental and Jess, because that's their podcast there. And oh my God, you are so amazing. So
Thank
you
you.
had so much knowledge, so many gems. But I am going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Visa. My name is Altavis, but I go by Visa. I'm a mental health counselor. I've been in counseling since 2016, but actually all my life, but became official in 2016. I've been in occult sciences since 2013, 2014. I tiptoed into it because I was scared. I was in the church at the time. So, but I'm glad it's the path that I chose. It was meant for me. So I kind of like to, well, kind of I do. I like to mesh mental health with my spirituality, and that way I work with a broad range of people. I'm not offended, or it doesn't bother me if someone is atheist, Santeria, Polymian, voodoo, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Everybody have issues. So I try to be helpful and help people as much as I can. I'm an in service person. So as long as I've known I've been here, I've been in service helping other people.
Okay, perfect. All right, China, you look like you back up and running. You want to go ahead and get your hashtags and everything. Oh, and Miss Visa, if you have any hashtags or anything that people can, I mean, hashtags. What's them things called? I feel like an old person. I
I don't
don't
know
remember
either.
nothing.
I don't know either.
A handle, a handle.
Oh no,
You don't
no,
have
I
any?
don't.
Okay, all
Uh-uh.
right. Good evening, Torian. Good evening, Cedric. Go ahead, China. You could go ahead and introduce yourself.
She froze again.
Oh, it's not time. Go ahead, Nunu.
Hello, I'm back once again.
Absolutely.
My name is Nunu.
Hi everyone,
I
I'm
am the
back
owner.
again. My name is China.
Okay, there she go.
You can find me on Instagram, China Victoria. You can find me on Facebook, China Victoria. Um, as everyone know, I'm a veteran. I have my own T-shirt company, as well as I'm opening up my own wine distribution as well. So that's about it.
Thank you. All right, Nunu, you want to go ahead and finish?
Yeah, it's me once again. Hi, everybody. Some familiar faces, some new faces. To the new faces, nice to meet you. Um, I am the owner of Queen's Closet Plus Boutique, located here in Chicago, and also QC Studios event space. And I'm here to join the discussion once again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so Mr. Accountability, you want to reintroduce yourself to us?
Jay Rell on Facebook. I'm just here, give some wisdom, some words. I'm all about mental discipline, pretty much accountability. That's where everything starts in life for me. So there you go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Uh, Mental.
You could check me out at Spirituality and Natural Living, one of my Facebook channels, to get that extra science. I deal with the spiritual cultivation of self, individual journey. No one else needed but you to do the work that you need to do, a lot like shadow work. So, that's about it.
And on Veda. I'm always, I don't know, I be trying to get that man name wrong.
It's like
On.
when you sit down and it's a frequency
On.
that is universal for everybody. So yes, my name is Veda, which means is the sound of peace, and Veda means ancient or traditions of knowledge and wisdom. I am a founder of multiple companies, the Akasha Garden, um, the Futurist Division Media Group. We basically help people, specifically people of color, get their marketing and promotion on through all social media apps, as well as um, help people set up their businesses and learn how to properly structure, not only for tax purposes, but for legal purposes as well. So the difference between the DBA and the LLC and so on and so forth. But I'm just here to listen to the panel and have a good time. Peace.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm your guy, Desi Lou. And like I said, tonight we talk about personal evolution and the people around us who don't evolve, how we handle those types of relationships or how we let them fall by the wayside, which is why tonight is called Left Behind. Thank you so much, Nunu. so,
Period.
I want to know what personal evolution means to you all, Miss Visa. I'm going to start with you. If you could tell me what personal evolution means to you.
What personal evolution means to me, just your personal growth and development. That's
Mhm.
it. Your personal growth and development, the path you decide to take or not.
Everybody agree with that? Would anybody like to say something else?
I agree. For me, it's a
Okay.
little bit more. For me, I would say it's being able to take criticism because a lot of you won't see what other people see, and that helps you grow as well. And from my own personal experiences.
Okay. Yes, I do like that. All right. So, China, I want to ask you what experiences or challenges have had the most significant impact on your personal growth?
Um, the shit, I will say like last year, just basically trying to find who I was without the husband.
Mm.
Becoming a single parent again has been the most challenging because once you build in and you connect with somebody, you have that family of 10 plus years, you have to go back and just reprogram yourself on becoming just a single individual again is what's the most challenging for me.
How has that shaped you like
um
today?
Strength wise, you forget how, like, sometimes you become dependent on certain things because you have that other person. So then when you figure when the other person is gone, you kind of have to reprogram yourself to become independent on and doing everything. So strength wise, I mean, on that end, yes, strong. Like strength mentally, physically, emotionally. I have grown in all those aspects. Letting go, but divorce is like a funeral to me. You have to let something go and rebuild yourself up internally.
Hmm. You don't feel like Tia felt. She said it's a graduation. Hey, like,
Some people take it differently.
okay, I agree with that. We all do got like different ways of thinking and stuff like that. Nunu, what are some what experiences or challenges have had the most significant impact on your personal growth?
Creating boundaries, I would say. Stop
Mm,
being such a people pleaser. Being okay with people making the exit out of your life because you're not doing what they want you to do that benefits them. So like basically one thing I used to struggle with was, oh well, let me not tell them no, or they're gonna get mad at me and I'm not gonna want to be in my life anymore. And I had to learn how to be okay with, like, listen, if creating a boundary causes you to leave, then you was never meant to be there in the first place.
mm-hmm.
That was the most important part of it all. Like, I guess it was like some detachment issues I had. I don't know, I had to battle with, but I definitely got a way better grip on them now. Like, I'm okay if you go, like I always say, only the real survive, and the rest are only the real, and I love that for me.
I like that. Well, how have they shaped who you are today? Like those personal struggles and things like that.
I'm okay with saying no,
Okay. One
no,
thing
no, no. It's a
a no
strong no.
cost you nothing, but a yes cost you everything.
Everything.
Absolutely. So I'm much
Absolutely.
better. I'm much more okay with those no's, and again, only the real will understand. Like, okay, well, it's the reason she's saying no. Is
Right.
but the fake will sit up here. Oh man, you're not I don't know, you're not being supportive or this and that. And it's like, no. Like one of my friends always say, I can't take care of you if I don't take care of me.
Yeah.
And
That's
Facts.
true.
I'm learning to
That's
become a
true.
little more selfish with myself. Like, listen, I got to start putting me first. I got to stop putting
Right.
people first because people kept showing me that they're not gonna put you first the way you putting them first.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely creating those boundaries, and I like that for me.
That's good. Miss Visa, why do you think it's so hard to evolve and separate from people that we've had so many connections to over all these years?
Why do you think it's so hard for people to evolve? Well, a lot of, how can I put this in a term that's easy for everybody to understand? Our human connections are what they are. From where I'm coming from, I'm kind of struggling with this topic. Mental may understand why. Is because this is actually just the human side of things. Everybody's talking about what they do as in a personal life as a human when you should be beyond that. If you say I got something I'm doing, I'm learning to accept no's, or you going through issues, what are you doing spiritually to help yourself balance that off? Are you doing spiritual work? Are you what are you doing to make it like I can get through this no matter what? With our spiritual connections with people, that's just what they are. I don't have any ties to anyone. I don't know if you listened to the last podcast. I have I got 4 kids, but my kids are all individuals. If they was to go off and do whatever, I don't speak to my mom again, then that's fine because their life is here to do what they need to do, and it's not on me to chase after them to fix them to make them do what I need them to do. If you
Well,
understand
I
what I'm
think the main issue is if you're looking for others to validate you, that's a problem. I don't care who it is, mom, dad, brother, sister, lover, it don't matter. Validation must come from the work that you know that
saying.
you put in.
Right.
No one else may know it, and it doesn't really matter. That's where
My,
the true knowledge of self and the divine entities that's in us can show themselves. But most of us are in a problem that we want to get what's on the outside to validate us. What looks good, feels good, tastes good, smells good, sounds good. As long as you're looking for those things, you're not never going to get where you want to be because it's an individual journey with self. Self in who? Self in God. Goddess, whoever, that entity, that all infinite and all powerful being is in you.
I got a better way to explain it. As I was growing up, my childhood was not. I didn't have a good childhood. I didn't have a good teenage year. I didn't have a good 20s life. Everything for me was always a struggle. I'm like what they call a chosen one or gifted one. I've always been since I was young, and always had a lot of. I had to grow up real fast, and in that, in that trauma that I had to deal with, I had to learn how to know my own voice, stand up for myself, speak for myself, know what I want, know what I do, what I don't want. Like he said, everything is a self discovery. In your connections, I don't know if everybody knows, I do not have a relationship with my mother. And some people may not understand that. And she was severely, my mom is actually psychopathic, not just narcissistic. She's actually a psychopath. So when you're dealing with someone with that much illness, there's a lot of trauma inflicted on kids. So understanding my connections with people is going to be different from yours and other people who may not have those same experiences. But the key to it is that if you remain true, like Mental said, you remain true to yourself and your identity, that's the key to everything. It's having those strong boundaries. Whenever I'm talking to anyone in therapy, the main thing that everybody seems to have an issue with is boundaries and feeling bad and saying no to people sometimes, saying, I don't like when you do this, and stick to that. If a person keep line stepping you, then you got to be like, okay, I'm out. But we don't do that. And we tend to keep people around us that's not good for us. You can love them from a distance,
I think some people.
but it's about standing. Go ahead, Dizzy.
I was gonna say, I feel like, I feel like once we get to certain parts of things, it's all about, kind of like reaching back, telling a person about, hey, listen, we all went through that, but we all know, I call them assholes, because they'll come and ask you for advice, but they won't take the advice that you give. And so, and I agree with everything that you're saying, because it's about disconnecting from the outcome. When you always
Right.
worried about, oh, it should have been this, I wish it would have been that way, then we forever gonna have that emotional attachment to whatever it was, because this is what I expected. You my daddy, how come you ain't love me? And
Right.
I'm always mad at it, or I'm always letting it upset me. What'd you say, Ms. Visa?
And you give up yourself so that you can stay in a relationship, so that you can keep that connection. Say you compromise, or you say, well, I can give up this, that's all right. I just want us to be together. I love this person so much that I'm willing to sacrifice my needs and wants to have that. Yeah. Instead of understanding, then you go down the road later on, you're gonna feel used. Like, I let them use me. I'm so stupid. And you go through these things, and that's not the case. That's why when another thing said Mental on the show, he brought up is our role and the part we play in those relationships and the outcomes, whether it's favorable or not, and if you're ready to accept it. Just like I can't accept all the bad decisions that I made, I can't just say my mom, how she raised me was an issue. You think I got plenty of signs to leave that person alone, plenty of signs not to go to that place or do that thing, and I just do it anyway. But those are my lessons learned. I'm not judging it, but I don't blame her for everything
But
that I
we
went
always
through.
got to remember, without that, you would not be who you are right now.
Yes, your lessons. Yeah, you come to be into
So
that
everything we
place.
go through is good for us because it's making us who we are. We always look at the challenges and the struggles and the frustrations, like, why me? Why me?
Mhm.
If not for that, we can't become the strong, the individuals. We can't look inside ourselves. We can't turn back from what we see, hear, taste, smell. We can't do that unless we go through some things, because when we go through trauma, it forces you to go inside yourself to find answers.
Mhm. That's true.
It
You're
forces you.
absolutely
Yeah, but that's why
right.
also part of reprogramming the mind. I don't know if anybody took Brother Panic classes, but the thing about that when reprogramming the mind is to reprogram your mindset is trauma, symbols, and repetition. Those three things. That's used across the board. Whether you're talking about media, school, military, it doesn't matter. Those three things are always going to be used to reprogram your subconscious mind: trauma, symbols, and repetition. So if you can get that down pat, you can use that for your benefit.
I agree with that. Can I ask you, what do you think the first step in personal evolution would be? How do you recognize that you're going through a personal evolution?
Most of the time, we don't recognize our growth until
Mhm.
we start seeing those changes being made. It starts off subtly. I think most people, on average, tend to not be able to recognize um, patterns until something completely cataclysmic happens, or something completely just, you know, ridiculous happens. Um, it shouldn't take traumatic experiences, because what ends up happening is we re-traumatize ourselves a lot of times in an effort to move past it, and so we fall back into these habits that perpetually re-traumatize us. So once you have the ability to recognize patterns, that's where you can break the bad ones and keep moving forward with the good ones, or create new ones that could push you forward. Like I said, most people don't recognize it until um, something forces them to have to reflect on the situation. And some people develop the way they cope with it is they simply take on a victim mentality, whereas things happen to me, opposed to my actions have directly led to X, Y, and Z. The a fundamental principle in the Kabbalion is, and even outside of the Kabbalion, it's just cause and effect. You do, if you hang around drug dealers and people with guns and different things like that, there's only two things is going to happen in that. Either you're going to get shot or you're going to go to jail. 9 times out of 10, it's probability game at that point. But if I surround myself with entrepreneurs, I surround myself with spiritually inclined people, I have no choice but to adapt to those things, because that is how the human brain functions. We're social beings, we're social creatures. So we tend to take on the habits of the people around us. So the first thing that everybody should do, if that does hear this outside of the panel, um, take an assessment. They always say, look at your 5 closest friends, the 5 closest people to you, and that's who you are. So if it ain't nothing but scammers, boosters, shooters, drug dealers, people who are constantly in toxic relationships, who can't hold the relationship, um, people who are backbiting, whatever the case may be, take that assessment, because that's who you are, because that you're connecting to those things for some reason, for one reason or another. So once you recognize the pattern, then you can look at yourself as like, what is the causality? Well, I hang around a lot of older women because I don't have a relationship with my mother, or I hang around with a lot of older guys because I don't really have a relationship with my father, which was like, in my case, I didn't hang with nobody that was no more than 20 plus years older than me. And so as a teenager, I was hanging around, 35 and up. And these guys already had their businesses and already had their stuff. So now they'll say, yo, read this book, learn this now. So when you get my age, you ain't got to worry about X, Y, Z. So now I'm a little more set up. But that's something that I learned very early on. I think most people don't really get the ability to figure that out for quite some time. And yeah. So that's just the best methodology, I would say.
That's what I was saying. The trauma, what you just said, was the toxicity, the lifestyle, the repetition, the patterns, and the symbol would be those 5 friends. If you
Mm-hmm.
can understand that and how that applies to your life, you can infiltrate that to your benefit. That's why it's so
Very much
important
so.
to know thyself, right?
Right.
And you get in those studies and you get into how you know thyself and your patterns is, what are you attracted to?
Yes.
What when you like if you are you attracted to this? Sometimes we dismiss it. It could be something as simple as this picture here, and you're attracted to it. And you don't even know why, but then you kind of blow it off. You know what I mean? If that little inkling comes to you and hey, go with it. That's something there for you. Is I don't believe in coincidences.
Ain't
So
that
start
natural? That no
noticing your own
coincidence.
patterns and things that come to you. How often thoughts, words, feelings, vibes. If you see you and you got a pattern or doing something repeatedly that's not good for you, start to change that by directly impacting that thought or that behavior with something else. If somebody, I will give you an example. I got a kid that comes in. Well, I should say he's in his 20s. I'm sorry. He's in his 20s. And his thing is he wants to go back to school. He wants to go to group. He has some disability, but this is the thing. He has the same behavior every time. He comes in not dressed appropriately, hygiene problems and everything. So he said, how do I stop this? How do I change this? First thing I said, why don't you, when you get up in the morning, instead of just going to your phone and going to the table, go straight to the bathroom and wash your face. It's something that simple. The minute you impact that same behavior, your mind is triggered because it kind of be foreign to you because you're not used to it. But once you do it just that one time, you'll be thinking, oh shoot, let me go try it again. I don't care if it's a week later. And you try it again. And then you'll get the habit of, okay, now I got something else I can do for myself to change this behavior or to leave this certain person alone or to build your self-esteem, however you want to, whatever the issue may be.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jarrell, I wanna what's your question? Because I got a question for you.
Okay, hold on. I got a quick thing. All right, so I'm gonna touch on what Mental said. What you go through, yes, your traumas do affect you. Now, I grew up a different kind of way from a lot of people. I didn't hear "I love you" from my mother, my grandmother, like my peoples until I was like 20 something. I grew up around criticism. So everything for me was all like you had to be mentally tough. My father was in the military. I didn't get the whole lovey-dovey side of things. So am I learning it now at an older age? Yeah. So I guess that you could say that's my trauma. I don't fully agree with the whole friends thing because you make your own decisions. I have friends. I have a very close friend. Me and him grew up together. He does some things. You know what I'm saying? He does some things, but he makes his own money. He do what he do. He accountable for himself. I'll put it like that. But just because he's my friend, or just because he's been around me, I'm around him, doesn't affect me. He's never did me wrong, not one time. So what he does and how he is not a reflection on me. We're the complete opposite, literally complete opposite. But he's still my boy. He's still somebody that, to this day, he's never done me wrong, and I've never done him wrong. So I don't fully agree with the people around you affect you or are you. It's what you allow. If you allow yourself to be like this or be like that, that's your choice. That's you. It's not them. It's what you're doing. For me, I mean, everybody different, but for me, I'm mentally smart enough to know that I'm not gonna do this because he's doing this. I don't gotta associate myself with this stuff because he does it.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
I think I
perfection.
agree with that
It's
to a
not
certain
perfection.
extent.
Nobody
I
wants you to
agree.
be perfect or look for someone else to be perfect. If you say that's your boy and he do what he do, y'all both move different, right? Y'all
Yeah.
move different. Y'all hang when y'all hang, y'all don't. Then that's what it is. That's just what it is. How you see
So
yourself, that's just what it is. I mean, there's no judgment to that, long as you know that there's no line you will cross. But I tell you what, you don't know the spirits that walk with him, and you don't know the spirits that will walk with you when you with him.
I don't know
So
the
just be
spirits that
honest.
walk with him 100%, but he has enough respect for me to not bring anything around me that he know I don't get on
You
with.
won't
but
know.
what
You won't know.
but
You won't know.
but brother, I just want to say this real quick because the what you're describing is what is called an outlier. So
Ooh.
it's antidotal. It's antidotal. Like I have
Mm.
friends that I grew up in the game with. We hustled together. We did our thing together, and we all went our separate ways. I have more friends than I can count that are in the grave. That are in the grave right now. I got friends that are in prison and that will never come home. I have friends that
Yeah.
like me figured it out and then we went and we did better. Now what that means as far as look at the people around you, that's who you are. It has nothing to do with an action. It has everything to do with the mind state that you have for whatever reason toward that person. So at the end of the day, yes, that might be your man's in them, and he don't bring none of his drama. But at the same time, if he got into some drama tomorrow that he don't even know about, and you go to kick it with him, you could get your. I've had at least 3 friends that die this way. It wasn't because they did something crazy. It was because another friend of ours did something crazy, and they just so happened to be around when it happened. Again, it ain't about he can't control what the next man does. Nobody can.
Yep.
So yeah, he don't bring drama to your doorstep purposely. But if that is what he's into, then it can come to your doorstep simply because of the association. Now, as far as is what look at your friends and that's who you are, what that really means is whatever your connection is to that friend, that is indicative of who you are as a person. You said, yo, he's never done me wrong. That's my man's in them. That means that you have developed a bond with him and a friendship with him that you cherish. And he exhibits whatever characteristics that you hold value in. And so that is indicative of who you are as an individual because it's reciprocal. You show him loyalty, he shows you loyalty. Y'all friends. So that's the connector. The connector has nothing to do with what one person does or doesn't do. It has nothing to do with that. So when you say look at the people around you, you have to go a little bit deeper than their actions. You have to look at their mentality. There's a lot of street dudes that are the most moral, upright, righteous dudes you will ever meet outside of the fact that they sell crack. But they have principle. They take care of their family. They have family day. They go to church. They go to their grandmother's house every day to make sure that their grandmother ain't. They're good people. They just do bad things. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that you also do bad things because you're associated with them.
Well,
So that's what that means.
I think you're more in the realm of you got to remember, all of us are individuals. All right.
Right.
The more we draw on the best part of us, which is the inside of us, that dual relationship, are we going to satisfy the flesh? Or are we going to go by what the spirit and the soul goes by? All right. Number one, growth is 95% unseen. You can't watch it. It's something that happens when we're not watching. That's the whole point of growth. Saying that. Number two, So number two, resilience. When you have a person that's surrounded by negative, but still comes out with a positive attitude or maintains its ability to love, because that's all we're talking about. When you get in these negative atmospheres, you lose your ability to love. Once you lose your ability to love, you lose that consciousness that connects us to us. Okay? So saying that, all we're talking about right now is us and how we relate to things. No matter what happens on the outside of us, it's up to us to interpret, communicate, and break it down so that we have some type of relevance or consciousness to what's going on the outside of us. The younger it happens, the harder harder it's for us to do that, to break it down and comprehend at an adult level. Seeing it for what it is. So as we grow, unfortunately, we're programmed to be more apt to go by what someone tells us. Preacher, teacher, mother, father, brother, cousin, friend, it don't matter. But as long as you're getting verbal information that's outside of you, it's always going to lead us to trouble because we never can validate the truth. Truth validation is done on the inside of us. So when we talk about trauma, symbols, and repetition, we got to be real with ourselves. On one of the broadcasts, I said that black women are the most powerful entities on the earth, but they're only the most powerful entities on the earth when they function as black women. If they function as any other thing, they lose their ability to be strong. And that goes for men as well. So what does that mean? When you're doing anything in other than being yourself, than expressing your blackness, your darkness, loving yourself, when you're putting on for anything that you're trying to get someone to see you, like you, smell you, be comfortable with you, want to touch you, whatever. Everything has to come from within you, and that inner you doesn't have to have anything to do with anyone else. I'm sorry, I know I done took up a lot of time. It always is going to go back to the inner you because I said it time and time again. The best us, the loving part, the respectful part, the loyal part, the forgiving part, that's on the inside. It has nothing to do with what goes on the outside.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Accountability, my question for you, and you can answer it, and then if anybody else wants to answer it after he answers, you're more than welcome to. How is a victim mentality cultivated?
Excuses.
Mm.
That's it. Just flat out excuses. People use excuses. That's why you don't grow. You use excuses. You don't change. You use excuses and call them reasons. Oh, this the reason I did this. I did this because of this. And that's an excuse, man. To me, but mentally I'm different. So for me, they're excuses. Other people, they're reasons. But until you actually change something, until you actually take a step forward or move around or do something different, you will never know or understand it's an excuse. You will always only think it's a reason.
Did anybody else want to take a stab at that question? And y'all all agree? Want to piggyback?
I agree with him. Definitely excuses.
Yeah,
Definitely,
I agree with that 100%.
somebody can't take accountability for their actions, so it's like, all right, well, it's comfortable to just say, oh, well, past traumas is making me like this, or how my mom raised me made me like this, and just even touch on what Miss Visa said. Like, I never really met no one else who had that strange relationship with their mother, because I actually had that type of relationship with my mother. And my mother passed back in 2016, but when she died, me and her hadn't talked in 2 years. And it's unfortunate that, she left without us talking. But the way I was raised, if I use the trauma, the mental, verbal, and physical trauma, if I allowed that to be the excuse to being a messed up person, or why, I'm not able to handle certain situations or take accountability in certain situations, or even, go about certain situations, so I'll be wrong. I can't use that. I have my own daughter now. I wouldn't dare raise her the way I was brought up. And, I definitely would never use that as an excuse, or have that make the mindset, oh, well, I can't love because my mother didn't love me properly. No, don't nobody else deserve that. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely excuses, and definitely, yeah, that victim mindset. It's a
I was
headache.
gonna throw a little. Not, I don't like using the term devil's advocate. However, when it comes to a victim mentality, a lot of times it's not simply cultivated by the person. It's it's created and cultivated by those around that person, because in order for you to carry or even develop a victim mentality, somebody has to identify you as a victim. And a lot of times, like, again, it's like my father was alcoholic, very wildly abusive to not only me but any woman he ever been with, including my mother. So for me, I can easily say, well, I'm choosing my bad behaviors and I'm going to raise my children in the same way because of that. And if I didn't have the mental wherewithal to say I'm choosing not to raise my children the same way. A lot of people don't have that mental wherewithal because a lot of people weren't taught that mental wherewithal. A lot of times they were taught the victim mentality by those who they were victimized by.
Well, once again, I think it comes back to resilience. You can use that same.
Nah, hold on, brother. Because it's not just resilience. It's not just resilience. If I am being mentally conditioned, because that's what we have to look at, the mental conditioning. Like, we could say a million times all the information and the knowledge that has been disseminated for the last 200 some odd years in the black community, whether you're talking about Duce Ali, whether you're talking about Noble Drew Ali, whether you're talking about Marcus Garvey, whether you talk about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and so on and so forth, Malcolm X, the concept of self-sustainability and separation from the state has been taught and proven more than one time. Black Wall Street, it has been proven time after time and again that it is able to do it. Now, what are we facing in 2024? We're dealing with the same mental conditioning. I can't fight something if I don't know it exists. If this is what reality is, and has been taught to me, and the fact that we live in a society that thrives off of victimhood. This thrives off of victimhood. Look at the Kardashians. They made a multi-billion-dollar company out of the victimization
I agree with you.
that she made.
But once again, you can use your same ideology. I come from a background. My father was an alcoholic. Drugs was all around. You can use that same thing and say, you know something? I see what it did to people, and I'm never going to let that affect me because I see what it did.
True.
Just the same way you could say, hold on, the same way you could say, I'm going to go with it and be a drug addict because I seen the same way. It depends on that individual choice that we make, regardless of the circumstances.
It's not just an individual choice. If 99.9% of the people in this populace follow along that same script, and the 5%, or even the 5% of that 1%, which is the people on this panel, we are outliers. We are glitches in the matrix. It's easier for us to say, well, we did this. But if 99.9% of the populace is doing the same thing, then that means that we are different.
I agree.
This is how evolution in the wild begins.
Right? But I look at it
evolution
differently.
In nature.
Without our 1%, none of this can happen. See, we balance the equation. There's always a balance. And this balance stems within us. When we are balanced, everything we come in contact has to be balanced in the equation.
Right. However, when we go from micro to macro, you and I can have a build and we can travel the universe with one another mentally because we are people of set ability. We have conditioned ourselves to be that way from a very early age, right? So I asked and this is something that even the panel can chime in on and answer. What is I go back to the initial point that I made a couple weeks ago. How do you know that your thoughts are your own?
Hold on.
10-4. And I got a good answer for that. Can I answer that real quick?
Yeah.
Once you have knowledge of self and you've dealt with self, You've dealt with the lowest part of you, that part of you that wants everything, money, drugs, women, cars. You've dealt with the highest part of you, that part of you that needs nothing. And that willpower that sits between, that balances it out. Once you know who you are, every voice in you is your voice. From the negative voice to the highest voice. It depends on what energy you want to encompass.
It's just what you said, mental resilience. That's it.
So I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench into that, right? You are right and exact. Everything that y'all just described is right and exact, right? So if that was the case, that means that people have made the conscientious decision to live in poverty.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes.
100%. Yes.
Now, wait,
Yes.
wait, hold on. Poverty
I
and
agree.
poor are two different things. One's
Say
a
it
mind
again.
state. Poverty and being poor are two different mind states,
Yes, sir.
right? So if a person has a poor mind state, then that means that 9 times out of 10 they are going to habitually repeat themselves. I can be living in financial poverty, but that means I now, because I don't have a poor mind state or a poverty mind state, I can elevate beyond that. But again, if this is something that gets conditioned within the populace from day one, and this goes into knowing the science behind things like MK Ultra, knowing the science behind things like Project Paperclip. When you talk about frequencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason we can say, nah, I'm not going for that, is because we, is what my grandmother used to say, we are light bearers. We were sent here on purpose. So it doesn't affect us the same way.
Well, hold on. What is poverty?
So
What is poverty?
Poverty.
What is poor? Because you got bums with degrees that choose to live in the streets instead of deal with what they got to deal with, being a lawyer, a doctor, making half buck. So I'm just saying,
It's all
then you
about
have
choices.
some that may not have much, but are mentally and spiritually rich. They enjoy the little bit that they've got. So I'm just putting it, like you
Yes.
said, a monkey wrench. Just saying it depends on your mind state.
Exactly.
Like
But
Buddha
listen,
says, the
let's
more
go
you
higher.
want, the more you gonna suffer.
Well, let's go higher. Let's go higher, right? And I'm glad you mentioned Buddha, right?
But hold on, I wanna say this really quick because I see where both of you guys are coming from. But I wanna and I do believe that y'all saying the same thing, but I think we missing the evolution. So the thing is this: when we first, you can be a victim one time. I say this so many times. Your first time being a victim, then you gotta catch when it becomes a pattern. So the first time somebody introduced you to something, of course, it's up to you. Even if it was, it's a China. You was with me that day when we went to church with Kim, and he was in there and he was talking about how he kept going to sleep, and that train was just blaring, 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 and he was able to fall asleep in the chaos. It's because the chaos becomes normal to us. Once we
Right.
recognize the chaos, then we like, okay, now what I'm about to do
It
about this
became
chaos? I'm
comfortable for
sleeping in it.
him.
He,
He
what you
adapted
say,
to his
China?
environment.
Right. We adapt to our environment.
He
But
adapted
then
to his
mental,
environment. You can adapt to chaos. You can adapt to unhealthy things.
absolutely. So mental, you come in, you say it's about self-exploration. Then you had said something to the fact of you can't something about the victim, it could be because your mama, it could be because of them. But it's this: when you grow up and you keep saying it's about it's just about what somebody else did to you. The moment you understand that it's you think this way because of something somebody else did, boom, this how you know what's your voice and not what's not your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, is that something I really think about myself? Or is that something somebody planted in my head? So when mental sitting here talking about, it's about sitting down with yourself, getting to know yourself, being more in tune with yourself. That's when you go from victim pattern to this my voice. Because now I'm not sitting here, I'm not playing with myself no more.
so let me just say this because I think what I'm saying is being misconstrued. So first and foremost, I come from the background of Carl Jung, right? Shadow work, right? Understanding shadow work and the corporation of shadow, right? Now, the biggest issue is not the victim mentality, right? The biggest issue that derives from it is the fact that there is a system in place that produces said mentality. That's one. Two, before I can sit down and do what Mental just said, before I can do that, I need to have said stimulus put in front of me in order for me to have a comparison. If I don't have a comparison, what am I going to change? Now, wait,
Either in
hold on.
front of you or in you. Either one.
Exactly. That's an
Brother.
internal situation.
Brother, that's internal situation. But again, you have to deal with stimulus. This is science. This is mathematics. If you do not have a comparison, if you do not have an example, if you do not have a concept, I cannot change that which I do not know exists. If I don't know it exists, how can I change it? I don't have the wherewithal that it exists in order to change it.
Well, you have to
So
become
my
self-aware
victim,
of what you need to
how do
change.
you become self-aware?
Yes, you
When
can.
do
I
you become
agree. I
self-aware?
agree with what you're saying. All I'm saying is there
I
is
understand
an
what you're saying,
energy
brother.
in us that can encompass everything that
No,
we
that's
may
agreed,
conquer,
brother.
we may
That's
encounter on
agreed.
the outside. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's agreed, brother. That's agreed, and we are in 100% agreement to what I am trying to impart here. Is everything y'all saying is correct. However, I'm as somebody who has done grief counseling, as somebody who has done victim counseling, as somebody who has done childhood abuse victims. I have studied them. We are talking about something that exists, yes, in very few people to have that self-reliance to sit
Okay.
back and say those things, to sit back and have that. The average person, because of said system that has been propagated for the last 500 years, if not longer, we are people that don't have our own language. We are the people who have forgotten our history and our origins on this planet Earth. So because of that, what do I connect to tell me that this is the comparison? The victimhood mentality can only be developed
Okay.
because somebody
And
has declared you
I
a victim,
agree. I
giving you
agree.
the authority to rest in that victimhood. So whether it be your counselor, whether it be your mother, your father, your friends, there's people around that enable that ability, that condition, because they themselves suffered that condition.
Well, that's
If
up
you
to
sit
you
in
to
a group
check your
full of
own
victims,
environment.
who is going to do that? But again,
Okay.
how can I know my environment is sick if I
If
have
you
no
don't know.
comparison?
I
Okay.
get what
Okay.
you're saying. But go ahead.
Okay, this is my understanding. If you believe, and you said you agree, if you believe you are a spirit having a human experience, your
Uh-huh.
higher self is always your connection. Your higher, I came here knowing. I've been knowing since I was a young girl. I knew when I was 4 or 5 how my mother treated me wasn't right. I knew if a man touched me a certain way as a child, it didn't feel right. Those are
Right.
my inner guidance, my guiding things to tell me this not right, this not right. Now, my background, what you said, I started out in geriatrics. I worked with boys, incarcerated boys, and I worked with girls, and I worked at a, not right now, I'm in a community-based service board. I work with all ages. My youngest is 6 to my oldest is 80 with a range of problems. My most traumatic one that I had to see was a woman who black folks was like, ain't nothing wrong with her. The courts had took her baby, gave it to the mother. The mother saying nothing wrong with her, right? Left the baby home with the girl. They went shopping. She drowned that infant, killed that baby, right? Fast forward 16 years later. Oh no, 18 years later, done did, spent time in prison and everything, right? Lady's calm, she's good. How you think she deals with that? knowing that she took her to her infant's life while she was in psychosis, right? She has to keep moving on. That happened. She sat across from me. She said, I feel sad about it sometimes. I think about it sometimes, but I'm happy. I'm stable. Her self-awareness for her is when she became stable and she knew that that wasn't her. She made peace with herself. So she was able to do that. She was not in any therapy, right? She was just locked up. So, but she had already knew as she got older that with her, that wasn't her. And she was able to go through life understanding that I can do better. I am better. But she always had her higher self, which her faith that she relied on. And I use the Bible all the time, even though I'm not Christian. And they said, well, greater is he that was in me than he that is in the world. What does that mean? The same thing. Always within you. It's always going to be your energy guiding you. You can say, I know about the outside forces. I could be that same person that say, hey, how would I know? It's like kids that sex offend on each other. I had a 15-year-old sex offend on a 6, right? That's how he was treated. How did he know that wasn't the right thing to do? I understand where you're coming from. How did he know that wasn't the right thing to do if it was done to him? Right? But he said, and when he sat with me, he said, I didn't like it. And I knew
That's
I
how
heard
we
it. I
knew.
don't know why I did it anyway. He had a
Right.
conscious choice in that moment. I never heard somebody say, I just didn't know. They'll say I didn't
It's
feel
the
right. I had that
conscience.
thought, there was something there, but
Your
they choose to
Or
do
it's
conscience.
the
it
reasoning. They got to validate what happened,
anyway.
and they'll try to validate it, especially if you're underdeveloped mentally. You can only validate it a few ways. As soon as he said he didn't like it, he knew it wasn't right.
He knew it was
Right.
wrong.
He knew
Yeah.
it was
Well,
wrong
I
right
think
then and there.
that
But
just
you
came
know,
right back around to
but in
what
his understanding,
was saying.
he was remorseful. He didn't like who he was. Several suicide attempts years later, and he's not that same person. And you know what I'm saying? So you have to be like, okay, how did he come into that awareness of knowing and accepting who he is and forgiving himself? That's a hard thing to forgive, you know. But I understand what he said when your society or what you've been raised around keeps showing you the same thing. If we even looked at Hollywood, all the pedophilia that's going on, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about like with the what's the little boy name? Orlando Brown and
Yeah.
Raz-B and all these kids that was sex trafficked in the industry. It's something that's been going on forever. How do
Years,
you deal with that? It's
decades.
always going to be something. But this is the thing. You are here for your reason, for your purpose, and you alone. Everybody else around you is the after effect. That's the thing that teaches you about who you are. You're gonna always be this whole experience right here is a human experience for my evolution, like she said. I'm learning from each and every one of you. Each and every one of you. My energy
Look,
is going towards Mr. Accountability. For some reason, I'm so drawn to that energy over there. But
I like to say everybody that in my world that I see, hear from, talk to are either a part of me that I like or a part of me that I don't like, but they're all part of
yeah,
me.
yeah. Mr. Accountability, you got to get with me. We got to have a conversation.
Oh, I'm definitely down. I'm open.
Okay. You scared of cards?
Okay.
Cards?
Are you scared of divination?
Who?
Are you scared of divination stuff like cards, tarot, and things like that?
Tarot
I've never
cards.
actually. I've never
Okay.
actually done it. I mean, I've never actually
No,
done it.
not
I'm,
just.
I'm
I
open
just
to it.
realized I just got a message for you. I want to give to you. It's personal. I'm gonna
Okay,
get to
no
get to you
problem.
here. But I, like I said, this experience right here is just me learning, me growing. I love everything that everybody had to say because we all going to take something from this experience. But when I'm done with this, it's still going to be about what I got from it and what I'm going to do with it. Right?
But
Right?
I
Uh-huh.
understand all of those things. I definitely understand where you were coming from because for a long time it was because I didn't know better that I allowed myself to keep doing the same things over and over again because I refused to get out there and learn something different. Even though, and I know it's something that probably wasn't put in my face, but it's a lot of things that I went out and I had to learn on my own, which is
Exactly.
where my self-reliance came from. And you're right, a lot of people don't have that get up and go. But like I was trying to say, it's just about the evolution, where you want to see yourself. How far do you see yourself going? If this is something that's gonna keep hindering you, if that friend keeps slapping you in the face, you're gonna keep going back to that friend and letting them slap you in the face when you trying to level up and all they doing is laughing in your face. It's about the things you keep allowing around you. Why do you keep allowing the same things? If Jarrell, you say it's about your mental, if you always letting something seep into your mental and change your mind, then what are we doing? What are we essentially, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm mental, I'm spiritual, I'm a lot of different things. I'm hood, I'm holy, no, like it's just a lot of different things that go into you. The only way to authenticate that is to push it out. That is the only way you will be able to do it.
Mr. Veda is so passionate. I mean, he got a purpose. Like I know he put a lot in to the service that he provides to people, and all that experience and all that knowledge is not going to waste because that is what his drive is, and he's seeing all this stuff that happen in the world. But the thing about it is, my message to that is, don't let that take you off your path. Don't let that, keep your head on a pivot. This is just you experiencing this for this little short bit of time. But you have to keep evolving as you go along through this process. Like you say, we're glitched in the matrix. Yeah, we're in the matrix, but I know what? I have a higher self that I'm connected to source. I don't consider myself just a human being. I say I'm a goddess.
Well,
Because I
that's
know
what makes you the glitch in the matrix. When we
right.
understand our higher selves, that's what makes the matrix itself is the thought patterns that is keeping the populace complacent.
It's the
They're so
system.
busy looking at Democrat, Republican. Meanwhile, they're both doing deals that benefit everybody in their circle. So the thing is once you get out of that hype, and this is what I mean, when you have a hype, because I'm an ordained minister. I've taken communion. I've made salat in the temple with my Muslim brothers, Sufi and Shia. I recently found out I was Jewish, so I've gone to temple, the whole 9 yards. So here's the science is what I'm saying is because we are the glitches in the matrix, let's not formulate a thought process where it becomes so binary that we often forget because we weren't those people what that process might feel like
Yeah,
for them. And
absolutely.
this is the science of empathy. This is what Jesus was teaching. Nobody can think on the same level as Jesus. That's why he said the kingdom of heaven is where? Inside of you. And they thought, oh, that means I can, if I pray hard enough, I might get superpowers. They completely misconstrued the whole what he was saying. They completely took it and turned it into a whole nother religion opposite of what he actually taught. So what I'm saying is this is where having that empathy to know that there's people in the world that have never seen the sun. And you have to be that light bearer to shine that light upon them and be that example, that living example, so they now have a comparison to. I've had kids put their flags and their guns down and take their behinds and went right back into jail, or right back into prison and stayed out of jail simply because they saw me put my flag down, put my gun down, and do other things. I was a savage out here on numerous levels. And seeing they big homie, they OG say, nah, there's something deeper, there's something greater. Now they're doing it and they made that decision because they had never seen no big homie do that before. And that's what I'm saying. When we're the example, because we are the example, and we are ordained as the example because we are put on this earth to be the examples. We are the resistance. And sometimes the seed of knowledge itself gets planted by the wisdom and the understanding that 85%, let's just go by the old standards, 85% of the populace is dumb, deaf, and blind, and do not know their origins in this world.
Facts.
Then we are the poor righteous teachers to teach them that God is not a spook. It's a real living being thing that you can connect to. But they'll tell them that you can't talk to God and you can't be close to divinity until you die. Mm. That is what they have taught us as not even just human beings, as individual, as spiritual beings. They made us suppress our spiritual selves. Because once we got, that's why they disconnected us from Ifa. That's why they disconnected us from Santeria and all the other things that we created. They separated us from that, because if we did that, we would go back to the source of when we walked this earth the way we designed it to be. And every person that I've ever met that got that knowledge back, all of it just disappears. The moment I got my head read, the moment I got blessed, and I was able to go home, it's a different experience. It's a different experience. There's spiritual energies that I thought I would never tap into until I actually got there. I didn't know it existed until I got there. And all it did was raise my spiritual energy. Because again, we live this individualism. However, we are here on this planet together. The mycelium works together. The plants work together. Everything in this planet works together. The harmony of the ocean is with the harmony of the land, which is in connection with the moon, which is connecting to the orbit of the sun, because we are in the right exact spot where we need to be. And that is what produces said balance. And once we get back into that, that's when we're able to show other people the way. And if you can't, and if you're gonna look in the world, you have to have that empathy, because there's people in the darkness and they don't know nothing but the darkness. What Bane said, I never seen the light till I was a grown man. There's babies out here that don't know no better. I say that I'm everybody's father. I don't care if that's my child biologically or not. I'm a father of civilization. So they're all my children, and it's my job to teach them as a father is supposed to.
I see now, get more of an understanding now if your belief says is as actually kind of Christian based still mentality. No, and I understand that. I'm hearing a lot of that's still conditioning. Like when you fully out of any religion or understanding who you are. And when I say individuality, when I say we're here for to live our life and our purpose, we've talked about many times. You've heard about when you're on the plane, the first thing they do is put the mask on yourself first so you can help somebody else. Of course, you're here for individual. You got to help yourself first before you can help anybody else. That's still a part of the tree. That's still us all being connected, because you can help yourself. You are able to help someone else. I can't go in. I've been in service for a long time. I can't go in and see anybody. I'm not good to anybody if I can't help myself. I'm just a fake therapist if I can't even accept my own advice. If I can't practice what I preach.
Exactly.
You feel me? So it's not about not having that connection or not wanting to help other people. But my thing is not for me to save you. I'm not here to save nobody, not even my own children. I'm here to I can show them, I can help them understand who they are. They can, they're my thing is for them to
example
who they are.
Example.
Not for me, yeah,
no more, no less.
Not
you can't save nobody. You can only save yourself.
Right, I can only, but that's
but what she's saying is yourself has to be the priority. You have to have yourself as the priority. I'm gonna love myself enough to be the best me I can be, regardless of what anybody else say. Mama, daddy, kids, brother, don't matter.
And regardless of
then I can go on about helping others, because now I understand self, and myself is like other selves. I see, like you said, you can start to have empathy and compassion because you see what they got to go through. The problem with that is we're only here, and I must be selfish and say it, for ourselves. Everything else
Wrong,
is a
wrong,
byproduct.
wrong.
Hold on.
That's wrong,
Everything
brother.
else is a byproduct of the love that we feel. I'll
So,
say it
brother,
again. We're only here to cultivate our love, capital L. Once you cultivate capital L love, you now have love for all things.
if that's
But
how
that's
you
a
decide to do it
byproduct
for
of
yourself,
what we're here for.
if that is how you decide to do it for yourself, that is how you decide to do it for yourself, and that is your predilections. That is not what the world was designed for. We are
What
the
world?
only species.
Whose
We are
world?
the only species. The world we live in, the world we live
Only
on.
species of what?
We're talking about nature. 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 When we're
And what
talking about
species? Because
nature,
there's many different species of the
in
atomic
you gotta listen. You
creation.
gotta listen, brother. You gotta listen. In nature, all things have an innate, right? As y'all all said, they have an innate drive, instinct, right? We can agree to this, yes?
Yes.
Whether it be to eat, sleep, or shit. It's
They
all
all have a
that's
spirit
basics.
that makes them be who they are.
Okay.
Yes,
So
go ahead.
now define spirit.
The spirit would be that activation that makes a tree, a wolf, a
What
chicken,
is
a
the
chicken,
activation,
a
brother?
hawk.
What
But
is
a
the activation?
soul, hold on, a soul is the individual essence of God that's activated in
Okay,
us,
okay. So
which is
so
different
so
from a spirit. But go ahead.
so now bust it, right? Because I broke this down last time. Spirit, if you break it down, it simply means breath, life,
Absolutely.
that which is living, right? Okay, so boom, we dealing with that. So when you're talking, what I am describing here is not going on a kamikaze mission trying to save every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the world. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being very careful not to learn yourself into a hole to the point where you learn so much that you disconnect from the average person that's out here. You lose your empathy.
We've already done it.
Exactly. And that's
All
my
of us right
point.
now are talking about
So
things that no one would talk about.
So the job then comes into, again, I already said it, be an example. That at the end of the day, that's my main point, and that's my only point. Being the example as we are the fringe. When we talk about what other people should be able to do, that's when the empathy loses. That's when we lose our empathy. Because you say, well, I had an alcoholic father or an abusive mother, and I have ascended to this place. I went through all of this terrible turmoil, and I have ascended to this place. And I'm telling you, that is simply a part and parcel of a roadmap of a very, very, very long journey. I have no choice but to live my individual existence because I am an individual in this existence. I have no choice but to live that individualistic
But you have a
existence.
choice to reject it also and
Yeah,
be other than who you are.
yeah. So, but and again, making that decision after I know better, that's one thing. But trying to make that decision if I had no other information available to me, that's a whole nother situation.
But see, this is what you're not getting. Internally, we are
No, brother,
infinite.
brother,
Hold on, listen.
brother,
We
brother,
are
brother.
infinite and eternal. So if there's nothing
That,
on the outside that we can gather that can make sense to us, we can go on the inside and get that information. Whether we
you
use that or
cannot,
not is two
brother. You
different things.
cannot. Information
Yes, we can.
is
Well, that's where we
information.
agree to disagree.
There's information and then there's instinct. You're describing instinct.
There's instinct, there's intuition,
Information is
there's
external. That's why
insight.
we have
There's a
eyes,
lot of
noses,
different ways to get.
ears, mouths,
Okay.
hands.
I can't
We have to
understand
see
Can
y'all
these
because
things.
it's
hold
like
on
y'all
one moment.
screaming and
Can
one
I
is
interject really quick?
I can't learn when y'all yelling. I can't. It's just you're
Jarrell,
yelling.
Jarrell,
Des,
you
what
was
was the first
raising your
question you asked
hand.
me? Do you remember what the first question you asked me, Des?
I don't.
Well, I was like, the first question you was asking me was about our path, our growth is development. I said it's our path is our growth, our individual growth and development. He has already decided what his path is, who he is, how he see the world, what it is for him, and he's right. And he's right because that's his individual path. That's how he sees the world. This is how he relates to the world.
Him.
This is his internal, his external, his path, his choices, and he's right because that is what's right for him.
My thing
That's the basis of it all. That's what's at the end of this. All your personal growth and development, however you see the world, because there is no judge. There's nobody sitting up in heaven waiting to judge you for Judgment Day. That's not happening. If you say, I come here to do this work, to be a priest, a missionary, a boys' youth director, whatever the case that may be, that's your path. That's where you're going with it. That's what you decided to do. You're right.
I think what the thing that we're missing is that you cannot forget your evolution. And it's simply to say that when you're going through something, you cannot forget to. So the people that you meet, don't meet them with such a haughtiness that, oh, you got to get back to the spirit, but they don't understand how to take them steps. And if you forget yourself, if you forget the evolution that you took, then you're not going to be able to teach them because you're going to be sitting up in your high seat. So you can't remember. You got to remember the steps that you took to get to where you are today.
Church, preach, tabernacle.
That's not what we're talking about. My light is going to shine. Those that can see the light.
I'm so confused.
Period. I'm saying whatever your individual path, growth and development is, what everything Mr. Vede is saying, that's true. That's his truth, and I respect it.
No, I got that. All I'm saying is to connect all of this. What I'm saying to everybody is you cannot forget your evolution, and that is just.
And that was my point.
You gotta remember yourself on every.
You gotta remember where you're coming from. You gotta remember where you came from along the way. Point blank in the period. You can't.
And sometimes you just gotta shine your light. Those that see it, see it. Those that get blinded by it, get blinded by it. That's just how it is.
That's just how it is.
Help everybody. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
You can't help everybody, but you can't forget where you came from either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you lack the empathy to actually. You might accidentally be the catalyst that put somebody on a pathway. I've seen it multiple times because they went up in a seeking information, seeking help. Just give me a book to read somewhere in that. And because that person was a bloodsucker, because that person was fake and fraudulent, they set that person down a pathway that they didn't have to go down.
Yeah.
Abuses.
Yes.
But that happens.
Yes, Mr. Accountability.
All right, make it quick. I had a question for China and Nunu, but Nunu left. Because I know both of y'all spoke on y'all past relationships. Do you feel like the evolution for yourself was something that you chose getting out of the divorce, or something that was forced from another person?
For me, it was a choice. You always have a choice. It was not forced. It's always a choice. You can stay in something that ain't good for you.
So is that really a choice?
Sometimes you're forced out of a relationship. Sometimes you're forced to walk away.
Sometimes you're forced because that person don't want to be with your ass no more. So you're
or you don't want to be with him.
But say what now?
Or you don't want to be with him no more.
That's a choice. If I choose to walk away from this, that's a choice. That's my choice.
Only because I've heard your situation. He made you or forced you to the point because he wouldn't treat you like you wanted to be treated.
Yeah,
that you had to be like, I'm better without you.
And I could have stayed in that shit if I wanted to. However, I chose to walk away from it. It wasn't forced.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, it took you a while to choose that based on his again and again and again and again and again bad
Yes.
So you saying he
decisions.
forced my hand in the decision that I made? Is
Yes.
that what you're
Yes.
saying? Well, then
Yes.
yes. If that was the
Okay.
case, I had to choose myself because I didn't want to be in that environment that wasn't good for me. So of course that was forced, if you want to say that, because you don't want to. I don't know if force is the right word or choose is the right word or both of them are the right word, but I chose
Well,
myself.
force may be a little hard, but it was influenced by his constant negativity
Okay,
or
there
the
we go.
treatment of you that he made you come to a decision like, I'm better without you.
Yeah, influence is a great word. We'll use that word. I like that word, mental.
Well, I want to say thank you to you all for coming on tonight. I always enjoy hearing your guys' opinions, even the
Can
facts, the
I ask why
truth,
you
the
asked that
knowledge.
question though? I ain't mean to cut you off, Desiree.
Oh, honestly, because when you guys were when Desiree was speaking on uh the whole accountability thing. I'm not sorry. The whole
Don't
what is
forget
it?
your evolution.
Yeah, evolution thing about relationships. Both of y'all brought up how y'all went through past relationships with the problems, and that's become one of the biggest evolutions in y'all life.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And it goes once again to you were not forced, you were influenced to make a change because of the outside environment was treating you a certain way. You chose on the inner you to say, you know something, I'm not gonna let it happen to me. I don't give a damn what outside is doing. You're gonna treat me a certain way.
Yeah.
But what was making her feel that way? What was guiding you to feel that way? What
Boom.
voice were you hearing?
Right. Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
how you mean as far as the higher power, the
Yeah,
internal,
I'm
my
just so I
Yes.
just
internal?
want to know if you know what, however you saw it. What did
I
you?
mean,
How
you know
But
how you get a you know how you want to be treated. You know the difference between good and bad
So, and this goes back to what we were saying before. How did you know that was a higher voice and not a lower voice?
because I believe in God. I'm Christian. And I know in my good book what it says and how you're supposed to be treated and what love is and what love ain't.
Okay. I ain't mad at you
mm,
because you are correct.
Okay, well, I'm glad that y'all figured that out. So thank y'all for coming on. I always appreciate y'all. I love hearing the facts, the truth, the knowledge, the opinions, whatever it is that come out of y'all mouth. It is always so interesting to hear, to decipher, to process in my own way because I'm only here as an observer half the time. Really, ask some questions, pry a little deeper. You know what I'm saying? But if y'all got any last words that y'all want to say, you're more than welcome. Reiterate your hashtags your handles if you need to, because I'm gonna get that right eventually. But thank you guys so much. Anybody, any
well,
final words?
everybody have a good week.
All
That's
right.
all.
Well,
Good
thank
week.
y'all so much for tuning in to the Immersive Experience. Again, like I say, it is a podcast about you, for you, from you. And as
Go
you
Peace and
can
Chiefs.
love.
tell, that's exactly what it is. We are here to help you on your personal evolutionary journey. So don't be afraid to tap in with us. You all have a great week, and I hope you
Yes.
enjoy. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I got another thing to say. Chiefs Kingdom. Period.
I got the Chiefs too, so
Mr. Can I'm gonna get a hold of